So I want to talk about this new amplifier that we're releasing today, the JMOD 100. This is the same amplifier that John Mayer used on the Dead and Company tour. Can you imagine how difficult it was for him to absolutely nail that Jerry Garcia tone? He needed this guitar and he needed an amp rig that did that for him. And let's just say that the release is going very well. We just had a meeting with all the dealers from all over the world for selling them, and anybody that was at that meeting would know that this went very, very well today. He used the amp on the Dead and Company, and he now has a new requirement. He's got to use it for his solo trio, right? And so the amp's got to work just as well with humbuckings as it does with single coils. And that's asking a lot for an amp, especially when John has a collection of amps that's about the size of this room at Mates. I'm telling you, this guy's got a collection, and we weren't just being compared to some of the amps. We were being compared to the best one that he owned, and he wanted us to beat it, right? So that said, I'd like to bring John out. And hey, John, come on up. Everybody, John Mayer. Anyway, do you think that you could talk about the amp and your experiences and talk and maybe play a little bit for them? Would that be
Absolutely, right? Yeah. As you said, I needed an amp to go on tour with Dead and Company with, to accompany the guitar that we had developed together. And when I came off of that tour, I started to continue to make my album and looked at it and went, well, I've never really plugged any other guitar into it. And so I plugged every other guitar into it, and I realized it was really well defined as the amp for the Super Eagle guitar, but hadn't really gone through the R&D stages to become a full-fledged kind of take-anywhere, catch-all amplifier, which is ultimately what I'm into. You know, we're looking for an amp that stops the hunt for amps. So many variables going all the time. What amp should I use? What guitar should I use? What cabinets? What speakers? And I'm looking to sort of stop that search. You know, do you want to get the amp you love? It starts to define your sound going forward, and that's what I was interested in doing. And so then we started working on really honing in the amp to be able to get my sound with my own music, and that got really fun, and we were able to include this new dimension of sound without losing the original sound that I had going with the Super Eagle guitar, and it made perfect sense to offer it. Once we had discovered how to get that sound, it made ultimate sense to bring that to other people. And as I mentioned before in a different conversation, you know, I'm sort of interested now in killing this idea of like the unicorn gear. The gear that only exists in your imagination. 4 people have it. I heard the last one that came up went for $7 billion. You know, they found one at the bottom of the ocean. You know, we want to sort of stop that thinking, because what I want to do is inspire guitar players not to believe that they're limited by their ability to get an amplifier. The idea that, well, there's this other amp you can't get. I'm trying to sort of bring it all into sort of accessibility for people. And that is now why we're looking at a JMOD 100, which could be a JM overdrive or a John's mod. So I kind of like that portmanteau. And it's usually about this part when I hear myself babbling that I realize I'm done talking.
Do you think you could show them what
Sure.
that tone was for the
Sure.
Dead and Company?
So the magnificent thing about Jerry Garcia's playing and his music, which still lives on every day, is that where's my cable? Do you have a? Oh, there's. Is you have to be able to have such articulate single notes that you don't need to go anywhere else. So where we are here, let me just get the right sound. That's one note. And most guitars won't allow you to sustain that kind of focus in terms of playing it and people going, wow, there it is, you know. But we had to develop it so that all these great lines, you know. it has to be able to sustain that. Otherwise, if you play that on a guitar, you pick up most guitars, it just goes flum, 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 flum. And it has to have that intrinsic sort of joy sound to it. And you get that from a longer scale length, and so it's also very, very clean. Let me get a little more out of... even striking the string, you get this really tight percussive thing, which you have to have for that music, you know. When the tone is right and the feel is right, then your timing is right and your focus is right, and it's the most satisfying experience. We've all had really satisfying experiences playing music and really confusingly disappointing experiences playing music. There's been jam sessions you walk away from and you go, I'm nothing, I can't, and there's good nights and bad nights as a human being, but what I'm seeking to do is try to eliminate all the variables in gear that we're not really sure why they happen, but when you put the guitar down, you go, that was not a thrill. And when it's a thrill, you don't have to play that much. Mm-hmm. And that is only all I'm after now. Maybe it's because I've had such experiences where I'm really going for it. When the tone is right. Playing in a gig, and
the bright switches are
right.
Does it play?
Oh yeah, and the band is playing. That's all. For me, I'm looking for the tone and the feel. That's all I need to do. Huh? Now, the thing the amp does is it's compressing in the exact amount that allows you to keep a bounce going on the guitar. And it's a really great sort of rhythmic bounce if you've got distortion on. I can accompany a drummer with this amp because I can just... I promise you most guitar amps will not be stiff enough in the power section to be able to... That's a dirtier version of it. You put a different guitar into it, you put a Strat into it, you're going to get the glassy, clean funk thing. You put a Gibson or a PI, anything with PAFs. 594, we should plug a 594 in this thing, you'd hear. It'll respond beautifully to kind of each tone you put into it. And I'd rather let the guitars be the different voice for me personally.
So they're grabbing a 594 right off the wall, John.
Let me
That's ballsy. What you don't know is on Friday mornings, all the managers go through. We open cases just like you to make sure that this is not a frightening event. We know that this guitar is right. Seriously.
Yeah. When Paul handed me the 594 in a hotel room,
Yeah.
and I hadn't even seen didn't have a number. It was a prototype, and I plugged it in and I went. All I'm looking for is this. The only reason I started playing guitar is because I wanted to sit alone in a room by a window, much like a day like today on a rainy day, and be able to just trip out. Ever since I was 12, I was like, I just want to be able to sit and do that. And I still try to find that zone. And when I got handed the 594, so it sounds like a hollow body, right?
Sounds like an old guitar. Right off the wall. That's good, right? Yeah, I should give John a hand for having the courage to do that.
I love playing left. You can just. It's like a drum set. One note. You forget about all the stuff you'd be able to do if you were jamming. I just don't love playing hyperactively without a band. It doesn't, it's the sound of NAMM. It's the official sound of NAMM. But the hyper jamming with the band of gypsies in your mind. But that's what I'm looking for in my career and my playing now is this beautiful. You want to be able to make a note, intend to make a note, hear the note, and go yeah, and then reinvest that joy into the next note. That's what it's about.
So, John, I have a surprise for you. You don't know about.
Okay.
So I was born in '56. So debatably, the greatest year of vintage guitar is probably around 1958. But I was in diapers. I didn't get make guitars for Hendrix. I didn't get to make guitars for the early Allman Brothers. I didn't get to make guitars for the Beatles. Okay, but we're making guitars now, and our industry is built on extraordinary musicians that become legends. All right. Behind you, this is Mark Tremonti's guitar that he played on My Sacrifice. This is Carlos Santana's touring guitar. This is one of your other touring guitars. This is the guitar that Neil Schon uses in Journey every night. So they're sitting right behind you, and what's different is when you walked up, you just thought it was some of the other guitars. Yeah. They look so similar to what we normally sell, and that's one of your Dead & Company guitars, right? This is John McLaughlin's guitar that he's been touring with. Yeah, see, look at the look on his face now.
Well,
right?
yeah, I mean, come on. Man, that's taste. My goodness. Wow.
This is Jack Fowler's guitar from Sleeping with Sirens, and we've got Mark Holcomb's guitar from Periphery on the end. So these are guitars that are becoming legends in our lifetime.
Hey, well, thank you.
And we included your guitar in that
Thank
batch.
you.
So everybody should give John a hand for that. Isn't that great?
Beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah. So you're releasing a new CD as we speak today.
Yeah, I'm putting it out 4 songs at a time. I think it's time for music to catch up with the way that people consume things, the way that television and movies have, and it seems to be working. So the first wave of songs off a record called The Search for Everything came out last night today, and I'm having fun knowing it's out in the world. It's not a secret. Anybody here make records? There's tons of people here make records. Yeah, I mean there's a moment where it goes from being something that kept you company to belonging to everybody, and the moment where it passes over is thrilling and frightening and moving. And the idea now that these things that were in my head are now in other people's heads. It's amazing. The most incredible thing was I played my own record last night off of like Spotify, and I went, well, this isn't off of Dropbox anymore. It's just easier to hear my, I don't have to get it through. It's amazing. You work. Then somebody emails it to somebody. somebody gets the master off, and then it's on iTunes, and you go, oh, it's everybody's now. So it's been a really fun day, and this is an awesome part of it, too. I wouldn't want to be doing anything else on a release day.
So this is the press for our industry, our guitar industry, our amp industry. And we don't get an opportunity very often to do this, John. So from my heart to yours, thank you so much for coming. Everybody should give him a big hand for being here.